Start the recording. Excellent. Welcome everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Filip Vucic. I'm a creation business major who specializes in planning and analysis. Today we're going to tackle what often feels like one of the hardest parts of running your own business, which is pricing. My goal. Oh, no, just a second. There you go. My goal today is to show you how I tackle what often feels what like one of the hardest parts of running your own business, pricing. So my goal is to show you why pricing feels so challenging and give you actionable tools to make it easier. So let me just start with my story, the shortened version. 4 years ago, during the pandemic, life hit me hard. So a couple years prior, I had left my corporate job, the corporate world, because I had to take care of my dad. He is now fine. He wasn't there. He was in a coma. And just when the lockdown hit Croatia, it coincided with the biggest earthquake my city had experienced in 150 years. So that left me with no active projects, a hole in my roof, a small kid, and a very, very pregnant wife. So, as they say, ladies and gentlemen, the tap dance, right? So I had to get creative. I took what, okay. I took what I've been doing with creation companies for years at this point, so helping them with their pricing, and applied it globally over Zoom, sitting in my attic. And it first worked in Australia, which is still my biggest market, and then in Canada, and then the US, and all over the world. And here we are today. I, I've worked with over 200 clients across 5 continents on their pricing challenges. And along the way, I've learned so much, not only from my, I think, impressive collection of pricing mistakes, but also from my clients. Which is why I'm here to talk to you about pricing, particularly for services based on expertise. So I think we're basically all here. Thank you for joining me. I'm so happy to see so many of you today. Let's dive in. So, pricing feels so hard because it seems like it should be about math. And math can be hard, but with so little direct cost in expert services, usually it's manageable. There's tools that help. But math is actually the easy part, and it's not what makes the decisions difficult. You can see my notes. Oh, cool. Why can you see my notes? That's fine. Thank you. Um, yeah. So math is the easy part, and it's not what makes pricing difficult. Okay. Pricing is hard because it combines all our fears and taboos into one complex cocktail. It forces us to put our insecurities under a spotlight in front of serious people that we need to impress just to pay our bills. So, not exactly anyone's idea of a good day. And here's the catch: no one really has the incentive to teach you how to price expertise based services. Employers focus on maximizing margins, so they will teach you a lot of things so you can be better at your job. But they won't teach you something that will empower you to, go price yourself on your own. Academia is just as uh, just as lost as we are, and competitors, well, they certainly don't want to level you up. So you could work in an industry for 30 years, and as you gain expertise, you will improve delivery, processes, uh, even client management through experience. But pricing, no. Pricing is something that we're forced to learn on our own. And even when we try to learn, it's incredibly difficult without stakes. It's like trying to learn poker without anything on the line. It, it doesn't have to be money, by the way. Even something as simple as loser is washing the dishes for a week adds stakes. I tried that, it works. But without that, real learning just doesn't happen. And I think the biggest challenge is sorry, feeling trapped in a rigged game. So if you charge too much, clients leave. But if you keep your prices the same, rising costs will eat you alive, especially in the recent years, right? So no wonder raising prices is the least favorite activity for most agency owners and experts. So what do most people do? Well, more importantly, what do you do? So I'm not asking how much. I'm asking how. How do you set your prices? I'd be happy to see something in chat, but I would also be happy if you just um, thought about it for a second, right? Okay. Um, right. So let's be honest. Most of us set prices based on guesswork, or even worse, copying other people's guesswork. And what does that lead to? Well, you know, you might find this familiar. Financial strain, burnout, guilt, resentment, worst of all, missed opportunities. Um, Judging by the faces that I see, some of you are familiar with with these, right? Um, for some, they may also seem inevitable, but they're not. At least not at this stage in your career. Because let me share a quick story. Do you know how circus elephants get trained? It's not going to spoil your lunch. It's not horrible. Um, when they're small and weak, they're tied to posts with string. So the little elephant pulls and struggles but can't break free. They're not strong enough. And eventually, it gives up. But years later, when they're fully grown and strong enough to pull the post out with complete ease, they don't even try because they've learned that it's pointless. To the elephant, now fully grown elephant, that flimsy string, that cage feels unbreakable. Fortunately, I'm not giving a webinar to elephants. So that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, to take a shot at breaking free. Um, so it can be done. Let me share an example. It's an Australian one. So I had a client called David Hubbard, an Australian consulting entrepreneur, and an incredibly talented professional. When I met him, he proudly shared what he thought was a great success. His last client achieved a 19 times return on investment from his work. Now, that sounds impressive, right? That's why he shared it to a networking companion. But to me, it was a glaring sign of massive undercharging. Because consider this, most clients would be thrilled with a 3 times ROI. 5 times, exceptional, right? But 19 times? Yeah, that raises red flags. It either means that you're massively undercharging because you don't know much about the industry that you're charging in, or that you gave the client a massive discount and then they struggle to understand why. What did you leave out? Right? Um, because there is such a thing as suspiciously cheap. It's like me offering to sell my car for $120.67. Would you buy it? Probably not. You don't have to know why. It just doesn't make sense. It's suspiciously cheap, right? Um, and pricing wasn't even David's only challenge. His offer structure was chaotic. So short engagements. So yes, extendable offer, but requiring constant renegotiation. 2 months ago, sorry, 2 months here, 3 months there. This piecemeal approach left him overwhelmed, over delivering, and regretting how much more impactful his work could have been if clients had recognized his value upfront. Together, we revamped his approach. We built a streamlined, year-long offer priced at twice his original rate. So I'll explain shortly why that worked so well. So just the important thing is, make no mistake. David is a true expert, a deeply intelligent, experienced professional. But like so many others, he was spinning his wheels as a master of his craft, yet trying to do everything, everywhere, all at once in his business. And the result? Well, exhaustion, regret, and chronic undercharging for extraordinary outcomes. So let me slow things down. If we're the elephants in this story, so able to break free but unaware of it, then what's the stake in the ground? If you ask me, it's fear. Fears. Fear of confrontation, fear of embarrassment, fear of making things worse. Most of all, fear of the dark, fear of the unknown. Because pricing, as we experience it, is full of contradictions and confusion. So you've seen professionals like you charging well above market averages without issue for years. That doesn't happen with potatoes, but it happens to you, right? Discounts failing to attract clients, amateurs undercutting the market for years, and the list goes on. So when I talk about pricing, I emphasize fearless pricing. That's my whole brand. Once people understand what's really happening, they stop fearing the topic. So pricing moves away from being like death and taxes, those inevitable, untouchable things that we would rather avoid and rather avoid thinking about as well. So to turn to the core of the problem, over the years, I've worked with a diverse range of professionals, a gynecologist in Vienna, lawyers and developers in Croatia, coaches and designers in Australia, accountants and consultants in North America. And despite their differences, they all face the same issue. They're selling to people who are amateurs in their field. Because that's why clients need you, because they don't know what to do. But here's the catch, because they don't know enough, they don't understand your work, they also don't understand your value. They can't see it. And if they can't see the value, they certainly won't pay for it. You wouldn't, I wouldn't. That's normal, right? If they did understand the value, they would know so much about your field that they would be the expert themselves. They wouldn't need you at all, right? So I call this the expert's paradox. Clients don't intentionally disregard your value. They simply don't see it. So the people who can see it, they are your colleagues. They will, pat you on the back. They will say you're awesome. They won't pay you a dime because they don't have to. So you're kind of stuck. The people who need you don't value you. The people who value you don't need you. This paradox is the foundation of everything that we're discussing today. And I'll show you how to address it with specific actions as we move forward. So let's break down what I mean by value, because it's a loaded term. Specifically, I'm talking about the value the client expects to see, because as you'll see, expectations are key here. So think of your expertise as this big, bright circle. And everything you can do, all the results you can deliver are in there. Okay? Now, the client's expectations are this smaller box, and just a part of it is inside that circle. They can only see the part of your expertise that overlaps with their expectations. And yeah, there's also a dark part of the box. So expectations, the client might have that you are not responsible for delivering. That's fine. You're not billing for those. But here's the crucial part. Clients only feel comfortable paying for what's in the overlap. That's the perceived value, not the full value, the perceived value. But it's the value that they recognize and expect and are willing to pay for. So even if it's objectively incredibly valuable, it doesn't matter. They're not objective, they're subjective, and that's how they're going to make their decision. So this is why understanding perceived value is critical to effective pricing. And this is the core of expert's paradox in action. It explains why adding more and more to your offer simply doesn't work so many times. Many of you probably tried this, piling on extra services or adding stuff that nobody asked you to do to your services to justify a higher price, hoping it will make the client say, wow, that's incredible, that's irresistible, right? But here's the reality. If the client doesn't perceive the value, adding more just doesn't help. You'll increase this spotlight, but unless the overlap is bigger, it just costs you more. It just takes more effort out of you, right? It often makes things worse because it's even harder to explain. So this leads to frustration, burnout. I've seen all of that, and offers that still don't sell. So selling more expensive services is not about providing more or doing more. I know many of you here, and you dish out plenty of value already. It's about making the overlap, the perceived value, clearer and more compelling. This is also why professionals skilled in consultative sales can charge significantly more than those offering off-the-shelf services at market average prices. Consultative sales focus on uncovering and communicating value, while off-the-shelf services rely on standard pricing and minimal interaction, which has its good sides, but also its bad. So when people ask me how my work makes a difference, because I certainly don't know their field better than they do, I explain it like this. I help push the client's box of expectations closer to the center of the value circle, right? This simple shift can create a dramatic change in how the clients perceive and pay for your expertise. Okay. So I promised to talk about what's really going on here. Pricing is simple in principle. Your price must be higher than your costs, obviously, right? Otherwise, you're losing money, and have to be lower than the price that the client sees. That's the overlap, not the whole thing. Because otherwise, they are feeling like they losing money. So the client will make the purchasing decision, and they simply don't care about the margins, growing thinner or fatter, whatever. This is an illustration from an article that I wrote a while ago called Why Do Margins Don't Matter? Because usually when you talk about selling anything, people are obsessed with margins. And I mean, margins are useful to you because they show you whether it's a good idea at all or how good of an idea it is to sell what you're selling. That's very good to know. But your client doesn't care. So you could increase this gap, which shows it's called a buyer surplus. So how good of an idea it is to buy this, not sell, for the client. So you could increase this by 20% and your margins by 160%, and this would still be a more attractive offer to the client. They don't care about the margins. Even if they're thin, they don't care, and if they're fat, they also don't care. It has nothing to do with them, and it shouldn't be, right? Um, so This is why I emphasized value so strongly. It's one of the only two factors that drive a client's decision to buy, and we'll talk about the other one. And it's fundamentally different, and uh, uh, this is important. It's fundamentally different from commoditized services or goods, but services are closer to us. So we say, I provide the service, a bank provides the service, is the same thing. No, it's not. Because the difference is it matters who provides this service. I don't really care which bank teller does my business. Maybe I do, not very much. If they change them, I'll shrug shoulders and say that's too bad. If somebody tries to change my GP, I'll freak out, right? Or my lawyer or my accountant. So in commoditized services, quantity is the thing that defines value. Let me just briefly illustrate. If I'm selling oranges, right? Three oranges are going to be more expensive than one and less expensive than six because more is better. And even with commoditized services like car washing, 3 hours of car washing is going to be more expensive than one and less expensive than six because more is better. But with expertise-based services, this rule just breaks down. So sometimes it could be true. It's usually not. I'll show you some examples, but if it's not a rule, sometimes then it's just not a rule. So would you prefer your lawyer to resolve your issue in 1 month or 1 year? Yeah, 1 month. That's higher value. It's less work. You don't care. Why would you? So if a dentist fixes your problem in one sitting versus three, if the problem is just solved, then it's a better service. It's less work. You don't care. And would this webinar really be better if it was 6 hours long? Absolutely not. It would be far, far worse, right? So in expertise, less time and greater efficiency often mean more value. So the idea of more is better simply doesn't apply to you. Okay, so before we move on, can you think of other examples in your own area or your hobbies or something like that, where more doesn't mean more valuable? So it again, I don't have the technology right now to respond to comments, but I would really like to see it later, and I would like you to think about it. Thank you. Okay, let's wrap up our discussion on value with one final concept: experiential goods. These are services where the value is only fully understood after they've been experienced. So think about this. How often have clients expressed surprise at how much they gained from your service after the fact? Right? That's the nature of experiential goods. Their value can only be fully appreciated once they've been experienced. And the challenge, you have to sell your service before the clients experience it. So before their perception of the value is expanded by them experiencing it. So this creates a problem for experiential services like yours and mine. Let me explain this further with a metaphor I call the jar. Okay? Imagine your service as a contents of a jar on a shelf. But it's not transparent. Clients can't see what's inside. It does have a label, but since your perspective is fully from inside the jar, you can't fully verify what the label communicates. You know it's there. You're not entirely sure what it says. And the clients can actually only see two things. What the label says, and the overall shape of the jar is the mustard jar or jam jar, right? And the price. So only two factors. Category. So are you a consultant, a coach, a mentor, a specialist? They look at your LinkedIn page and your price. And those will shape their expectations, that box that we're pushing, and are crucial to how they perceive your brand and your value and how affordable they see you as being, which has profound consequences on how exactly your pricing will work. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, had to let somebody in. Remember this, right? Let's just momentarily shift our focus from your costs to the client's cost. So from this one to this one, because yes, this is your price, but this is also the client's cost. So remember, the larger this gap is, the more they attract, the more attracted the clients will be of your offer. So while we as sellers think of price as the number we charge, clients experience it differently. Their perception of cost goes beyond the monetary figure or the amount of money they pay to you. And this is what we're going to explore next. Okay? So, take taxes for instance. Clients do pay them, but they don't land in your pocket, right? It's another monetary cost that you don't perceive as part of your price. But it gets much wider than that. There are other, even less tangible costs that clients do consider, whether they know it consciously or not. And I'll give you 3 examples. So imagine your favorite hairdresser or therapist or yoga teacher, doesn't really matter. Somebody that you trust. And you worked with them for years, and now they moved to another city, maybe an hour and a half away from you. Now their price hasn't changed. It's still the same amount that you have to pay once you're there. But for you, the cost is now much higher. You now have to sacrifice half a day, pay for gas, pay for parking, deal with the inconvenience of the whole journey thing, maybe babysitters or whatever. Even though the monetary price remains the same, this overall cost feels much greater to you. So what's the difference? If they can say my price is the same. So what's the difference between their feeling and your feeling? It's called convenience cost or inconvenience cost, if you like. Okay, second thing. Do you think I send my kids to the cheapest dentist I know? No? Yeah, probably not. Why not? Isn't the lowest price the best price? Of course not. Of course not. Here's why. Here's the difference, right? It's the risk cost. A low price might save money, but introduces other potential, let's call them costs: fear, pain, phobias, long-term problems. And when something feels too good to be true, yeah, it probably is. That feeling of undefined risk prevents people from seeing monetary costs as the only factor, because it's not. And let's finish with ego cost, that hidden price of humiliation or discomfort. So imagine a banknote on the ground, which is perfectly fine, except that somebody has clearly spit on it. Right? Yeah. Would you pick it up? Probably not. Okay, maybe this is an even better example. Would you attend a workplace-provided marriage counseling with your spouse if you knew everybody in the office would know that you used it? Right? I mean, it's free, technically. It costs nothing. But does it really? So, ego cost can outweigh even a zero monetary price, zero cost monetary price. In all 3 examples, convenience, risk, and ego, these are the services where trust is essential. And this is the difference between us and the commoditized services. Because the trust between 2 people here is not that much the brand. It's between 2 people. You can always find a new dentist or counselor, but you're reluctant to do that, right? You're reluctant to switch because of what's at stake. This is again different from what we experience in commoditized services. Lower monetary cost doesn't automatically mean better value, right? So here's the rule. Clients will tolerate a higher price. They will accept it if the other costs, like inconvenience, risk, and ego, are lower. Now, I know some of you are from the IT, and even people who are not might know this one. Have you ever heard of nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM? Yeah. I think it got them millions. Why? Because hiring IBM represents very low risk. It's not cheap, but most people hiring IBM are not paying out of pocket, they're paying out of company funds, and they will gladly pay a premium for the confidence that comes with the IBM's reputation. And that's the key. Clients are willing to tolerate more than they perceive, much more when they perceive that the risk cost is low. So now that we've covered this and the behavior angle behind it and everything, let's talk about what you can actually do next. Okay. They say the main difference between theory and practice is that in theory, they are the same. But in practice, they are definitely not. Let's learn how to play the game. Firstly, you will need some real data. Maybe that's as simple as just having a few conversations with the right people. And okay, let me skip this hurdle for you. If you're wondering what the right kind of people even means in your case, imagine that what you got from this webinar is a wish from a genie, okay? Is one specific wish, and you can change it, but every client from now on will be a copy of a great client from your past. So you're going to have the same number of clients as you were fated to have anyway, but they're going to have the same need, same complexity, and an inflation-proof budget. Okay? That's gonna happen. But you have to choose. Who would it be? Who would you clone? Right? So do me a favor and write that down, please. You don't have to tell to me. Just write it down for yourself. Good. Okay. So, second, um, we'll talk about common thieves of confidence and how they undermine your pricing decisions in a second. And finally, I'll show you how to adjust your approach for raising prices with new clients versus existing ones. So let's break it down step by step. First, getting the data. Okay. So first rule, please, please, please stop asking any version of how much would you pay? Or how much do you think is fair? It might seem harmless, but it creates a direct conflict of interest for the client and hands the control of the conversation and your worth over to them, which might or might not have your best interest in mind. Instead, just flip the script. After explaining the value, the steps, the details, you stop and you ask them, how much do you think I'm already charging? So how much do you think I'm charging? It might seem like the same thing, like how much would you pay? It's not, because it implies that I already have the price, that it's already set. I'm just asking, can you guess? It's a challenge. The important thing is to write your price down first. This is not about fishing for information, and that's also something that I always share. Okay, so you write your price down beforehand, and if you're in a virtual setting, you write it into chat. You just don't press enter. You don't send it yet, and you say, I'm really curious at how much do you think I'm charging for what I just described. Okay, so I'm not fishing for information. I already put it into chat. As soon as you say it, I'm just going to press enter and you're going to see it. Okay, no matter what you say, the price is not going to change. I'm just very curious at how well I'm explaining this. Okay, so This keeps the process transparent and professional. Um, and there's three things that can happen, basically. They can guess exactly, in which case, kudos, you all laugh and, continue the conversation. They did excellent. They did a very good job. High five. That's the least likely one, but it happened to me. So, if they overshoot, then you take it as a compliment because it is. You say, "Oh, thank you very much." No, no, maybe one day, not yet, but thank you. This is my current rate, as I said. And you charge them at your current rate. But you now know more for the next client or the one after it. But to this client, you keep this price. If they undershoot, if they underestimate you, that's fine. You just own the moment. You say, dang, looks like I need to get better explaining this value, you know? Thank you for that. I mean, the price stays, but could you share what would make this service feel worth that amount to you? Because maybe I'm already offering it, just didn't remember to tell you. It's not easy to put this in a few words. So this keeps the focus on improving communication without making you look like you doubt the value that you provide. And look, whatever they say is primo insight here. Okay. When I say I do pricing, people say, "Oh, you run like experiments, ask people online what they would pay." No, no, that works for Coca-Cola. It has nothing to do with us. This is how you do it. So if multiple clients overestimate the price, so let's say 3 out of 5, congratulations. Take this as a sure sign you're undercharging and adjust your rate for the next client closer to the average of those estimates. It really works. I did it. A lot of my clients did it. It you basically base this on how well you explain this. So yes, even if your value stays the same, but you get better at explaining, your price will rise. It's magic. It's wonderful. Right. So this is how you get your value to align with a higher price point that you already deserve without working more. Now, let's talk about confidence and why this is one of the most important things that I'm talking about. Because many people equate a competitive price with being low priced. But in expertise-based services, competitive doesn't mean cheap. Competitive means confident. It's a fundamental shift in thinking, and I'm going to explain why exactly. Because clients, they don't think they need you until something's burning. They seek specialists only when their confidence drops below the severity of their problem. Now, this sounds complicated, but I promise it's not. So take me, for example. I'm 40, and let's say my back starts to hurt. If somebody at this point offered me a budget-friendly chiropractor, I'd decline. You know, why pay someone to tell me how I should sit or that I should exercise more? Thanks, I know that even without somebody telling me that. So yeah, I'd just rather handle it myself. Maybe pay for a cheap massage, feel better for a day or two, and just try to forget about the discomfort. And then just one morning, I can move because of the pain. Didn't happen to me, it happened to a friend of mine. That's when the moment, that's the moment that my confidence in, handling this myself drops below at my perception of the problem. So not the problem. The problem might have been just as severe yesterday. I just wasn't aware of it. Now I am. And this is the first moment that I even think about, I think I need some expert help, right? I need, so my confidence is simply not enough. whether the perception of the problem raised or my confidence dropped or both doesn't really matter. My confidence is now lower than I need it to be, and I need to buy some more. But even at this point, I wouldn't want a budget chiropractor. I would run away from such a concept because I don't really know about chiropractors to judge who's good or who's bad at their job. But I feel like I need a good one. I feel like I'm in trouble. I'm ashamed that I let it go this long, right? And I'm willing to pay for expertise and confidence. I just can't tell them apart. And since I can't verify expertise, I won't trust someone whose price feels insecure, like they don't know about the stuff that they do to solve my problem, right? And I don't have time to research this. My back hurts, I have stuff to do, and I need a solution as soon as possible. So I'll start asking around for recommendations. And if I'm lucky, someone will have a trusted expert that they tried to refer. And you all know this. This is why networking works. Probably works for most of you as well. But let's say I don't get the recommendation. What's my choice? Remember the jar. I'm only left with two indicators I can rely on, right? Whether the person seems nominally qualified, so how their LinkedIn looks, or something like that, or web page. So that's the shape of the jar, the label, and their price. That's how I'll make my decision. Because, okay, I know, everybody knows, that a high price doesn't guarantee expertise. But I don't have a choice, right? The only thing I see is that a high price signals confidence. And if you're confident without reason, you likely wouldn't stay in business for long, right? So if you're confident and you're in business, then you must be competent as well. And so in that troubled state, the clients don't have time to seek perfection. They just need to see enough confidence and hope for the best. You've probably been in that a situation yourself with a sick dog or something that's really important and urgent and you can't solve it yourself, right? So once I find somebody like that, I just want them to shut up and take my money. Just get me out of this, okay? And I'm sorry to say, or I'm happy to say, I'm not really sure. That's what we all are, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we all are. We're vending machines for confidence. No matter what your area of expertise is, your clients put money at one side and the other side comes extra confidence that they can use to solve their problem. This is why I can work with so many industries at the same time. Because whether they can't understand your value because you're a lawyer or they can't understand your value because you're a developer, it doesn't really make much difference. They don't. And they need somebody to solve their problem. And the only thing that they see is the nominal thing and the price. And this is why positioning yourself as the affordable expert actually undermines your value, right? In this context, affordable translates to less confident. Because like I said, competitive is confident, so affordable means less confident and consequently looking less capable. That may seem harsh, and it is, or rash, and it is, but remember your own reluctance to send your kids to the cut-price dentist. Hiring experts requires trust, and discount trust is just no trust at all. Yeah. Many people like this one. Okay. Now, I promised to talk about raising your prices without losing clients. Here we go. You now know enough. We'll start with new clients because they're easier to approach. Conventional wisdom recommends cautious, incremental adjustments to price raising and conservative conversations, about value. But let's be honest, that approach just isn't fast enough for today's world, where costs are rising everywhere all at once. When working with new clients, Start by projecting confidence, more than you think is necessary. We are unfortunately often our own harshest critics, focusing on flaws in our work that clients wouldn't have a prayer of noticing or wouldn't care if they do. So set the expectations high and always, whenever you can, ask the client what's the ideal outcome for you in this project. Now, this doesn't mean letting clients dictate the scope, especially new ones. Clients know their goals, their budgets, their deadlines, and they're usually right about those. But they often have an idea of how they think that should be achieved, and they're usually wrong about those. They have no idea how to achieve them. It's your responsibility to define the scope, just as you would trust a surgeon to plan your operation without your input in the details. That's your role. So once you set your expectations high, then present your offer confidently. And yes, some people will walk away, but that's not a tragedy. Remember, like magnets, your pricing will attract the right clients while repelling the wrong ones. Ideally, without wasting time for you or for them. Because the clients who walk away are usually those who can't afford you or believe they already know everything. And those aren't the projects you want. Trust me. If you don't have to work with them, just don't. So handling price changes with existing clients requires a different approach. First and foremost, never ambush them with sudden increases, especially not much higher prices. So something like gradual adjustments, like a 40% increase over 6 months with 6 months upfront so that they know that it's coming, that works. 20% right now doesn't, most of the time. And whatever you do, avoid asking, how do you feel about paying more? The answer will always be no. Unless, of course, they're embarrassed by just how little they've been paying you through all of these years. And yes, that happens more often than you think. Instead, communicate clearly why the increase reflects the growing value you deliver and how it aligns with their interests and goals and strategies. For example, dear client, when we started, the value and the price were balanced. And since then, the value has grown, as you can see, as I can see here, And the price needs to reflect that. It needs to be brought back to balance. I would say, and people find this controversial, but never bring up your costs. It doesn't help. You're not selling sardines. You're not selling potatoes. Clients don't care. They don't care about your margins. They care about the gap between the value that they get, that they see that they get, and the price that they think they're paying. If that gap has grown, that's your reason for adjusting the price. So your costs, your margins, internal challenges don't matter to them at all. And I don't think they should be a part of the conversation. I'm a big believer for not revealing your formula on how you made the price, but that's another subject. Okay. Remember, confidence is key in pricing. It reinforces your value, while hesitation undermines it. So if you seem unsure about either the new price or the value you deliver, clients will pick up on that and they will be even less certain than you are, and they'll start questioning the quality of your work, right? I've seen that happen a million times. Okay. Here's an old pricing joke. It's not mine. It's possibly not even funny, but I'm still going to tell it. So I told my barber to double his prices and he panicked. Like, double my prices? Golly, I'd lose half my clients. Yeah. And have the same revenue with half the work. Horrible, terrifying, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, and yet I've seen this exact fear in real life so many times. The fear of losing clients over price increases is highly exaggerated because our experience comes from pricing commodities. And experience-based services aren't like commodities, where a small price difference can cause clients to switch like this. No one debates, which oranges to buy. They're interchangeable. Who cares about oranges? This or that. But you wouldn't feel the same if somebody replaced your trusted lawyer or your accountant, right? Because okay, so you had an accountant called Josh. This is Josh. He's an accountant. Why do you care? Well, you don't trust this one. So that's a big difference, and this is important. So um, when you raise your price by like 20%, you might assume you're going to lose about 20% of your clients. That's not going to happen. Why? Well, this the economists talk about price elasticity, and it applies to things like wheat or barrels of oil. If the price goes 20% up, then the demand goes 20% down. Perfect, great. You've never sold something like that in your life, and you never will. And you probably haven't bought anything like that either. It doesn't work like that for most things that we buy, especially, especially not like medicines. This is a comparison that I like: selling candy and selling medicines, because you could view them as very similar. Both candy and medicine are small products you put into your mouth to feel better, but one is interchangeable and susceptible to buyer flight with price increases, and the other is just not. I've learned that most expertise-based services, just like medicines, have something the economists call inelastic demand. And that means if you raise your price by 20%, you might lose some clients, but about 3%, or nobody. Um, and the very important caveat here is it's not magic. It also implies in reversed discounts. So many of my clients had this very unfortunate experience in the pandemic era when they dropped their prices, thinking, that they would draw more clients, and nobody came. Because inelastic means reacting less than you would statistically expect, and it goes both ways. So if you increase it, it doesn't drop that much. If you increase the price, the demand doesn't drop that much. If you lower the price, the demand doesn't increase that much. And the second reason why losing a few clients isn't a big deal, um, I've always noticed that many of us in the business of expertise undervalue our services. And initially, I blamed short-sighted clients and poor client education. But recently, I came across an insight from Ulrich Letkow-Schmidt, a great SaaS pricing expert, and it completely changed my perspective. I realized I was missing a key piece of the puzzle, and let me show you this. So this dotted line is your price tag, okay? And there's basically three categories of clients. So type 2 clients think your price is perfect and they just happily buy at this price. Okay. Type 1 clients think it's too high and they're vocal about it. They'll tell you, if you just give me a discount or lower your price permanently, I would so buy from you. And their dissatisfaction creates, let's say, a visible wound, right? You feel like that's lost money, and kind of is. But there's also another type. So type 3 clients who'd happily pay more. They see you as a bargain, sometimes even an embarrassingly big bargain. But the catch is, they will never tell you that upfront, right? Why would they? Most of them will never raise their hand and say, sorry, I would like to pay you more. Maybe, yeah, after they experienced it all, but not before. The first thing happened to me, the second one never did. And this invisible loss is not like a wound, it's like a cancer. Um, because it definitely costs you money, just like this one. And very often it's even bigger than the visible loss, but you don't see it. You don't feel it. It kills you, but you're not aware of it. So we focus so much on the visible loss. So the clients that went away, or who vocally said, "Oh, I would never buy it at this price." Fine. That we miss the silent, invisible loss from type 3 clients who would have gladly have paid more. And this invisible loss can be far greater, like I said. The thing is, you don't have to offer more or work harder to address this situation. Remember the vast area you still had not explained to the client um, from the beginning, right? It's about communicating the value you already provide to those who are happy to pay a premium. And then you can address this invisible loss and forget about the visible one. Right. Two more slides. Remember the elephant tied to the post. It's not the post holding it back. It's the belief that it can't break free. This is how pricing feels for many of us. So the fear of rejection, fear of losing clients, fear of doing things wrong keeps us tied down. But those fears aren't reality. They're just beliefs, and you can change them. So here's what you can do right now to start transforming your pricing, okay? So in the next client conversation, try asking, what do you think I charge? This one question can reveal invaluable insights about how your clients perceive your value. Second thing, for your existing clients, plan a gradual price increase. You can explain it clearly because they know you, they trust you, and you can connect it to the growing value that you obviously deliver. So often I ask people, how would you uh, um, how would you say your value has increased, let's say, compared to you doing stuff for clients 5 years ago? And people say, oh, usually it's about three to five times more value right now because that's the nature of expertise. And then I say, okay, is your price 3 to 5 times higher now? No, it's usually like 20 to 30%. Okay, so you're giving much more for much less. There's no reason for you to do that. And finally, take a hard look at your client journey. Remember those other costs that are not monetary? Where can you reduce hidden costs like inconvenience, risk, or ego to make your services feel more valuable without changing anything else? Just simply a better deal, right? When you start communicating your value clearly and pricing confidently, you'll attract clients who respect your work and value your expertise. And I know for some of you, this may sound like a pipe dream. I've done it more than 200 times. It absolutely works, right? You'll stop feeling stuck in a cycle of overwork and undercharging. Wouldn't that be nice? Right. That's basically it. I want to leave you with this thought. You already have the strength to break free from this cage. You're only held back by fear, and you can push past it. And if you need a helping hand, reach out and book your discovery call with me. That's the sales part of this presentation. Your clients deserve to see the value that you bring, and you deserve to be adequately paid for it. Thank you. I would really like to end this by building on some answered questions. Um, so thank you for your time and ask me anything that you think would help anyone here, including you, take the another step in their pricing journey. So I'm going to stop sharing. Cool. I'm going to drink water again. There is going to be a replay. Not a problem. Thanks for being here and showing your face, Linda. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Awesome. So I wanted to share a story with you guys on the idea of if you give a discount or what feels like a discount, it could be problematic. I was having my honeymoon in Dubrovnik which is a very, very expensive Croatian city. And when the bill came, it came with a 20% off discount. And I actually, without showing it to my wife, I went to ask the waiter, is everything okay? Why did we get such, what was wrong, basically? I was worried. And he said, no, you're a Croatian speaker, so we have this policy of dropping our prices because we know they're much. That's, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But I was genuinely worried because, okay. Thanks, Rosalind. As someone starting out, how do I set my price? So the process that I described of talking to potential clients, and they have to be, so they can't be your friend and they can't be somebody off the street. They have to be somebody that could plausibly be your client. And then you talk about the value and you talk about the cases, and then you ask them, so how much do you think I charge? And this is important. So it implies that you're already charging, right? Maybe you're not. I would call that the white lie because I know you know exactly what you're doing and you've been doing it for years. So just because you've never sold before doesn't mean that you have to gift wrap that fact to the client, because I know they'll be perfectly happy with it, with your work. Okay? Okay. Um, Apart from that, it's interesting to see who do you want to be compared with, because they already pay somebody that does something that you do in another industry or from another angle. So anybody here from Europe will know what GDPR is. And with GDPR, I had a client who's a lawyer, and she works in GDPR, and she doesn't practice as a lawyer, but she's schooled like that, right? That's her approach. And when she starts talking about GDPR, at first people try to compare her to somebody that does websites, because GDPR is usually about websites. And I instructed her to not let them do that. To ask them. So do you usually hire lawyers? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not a practicing lawyer. I'm just curious. How much do you pay them? Okay. And now you're anchoring. And then she drops the fact later in conversation that she is a lawyer, and now they're comparing her to lawyers, not web people. Lawyers are more expensive than web people. Okay. So you want to be something that my very good friend Chloe Nwangu calls industry aware but distinct. The industry aware part is interesting because in Rosalind's case, there is no big industry of doing this. But the courts, which I think that we're talking about here, or somebody that has some, they're already paying consultants. So you want to be aware of how much, and then you want to be somewhere around there. So you want to be industry aware but distinct. If that's vague, just do the experiment. Talk to a few potential clients, ask them, how much do you think I charge? Challenge them. And even if you're way off, like I said, they can either overshoot you and give you a compliment, or undershoot you and you say, oh, thank you for helping me improve how I talk about this value. So nothing bad can happen. Okay, so second question from Maria. What do you do if if they know someone who's cheaper? Classic. Classic. Just a second. So, of course, they're going to pull that. And that's where you rely on thinking upfront about the other costs. So, the risk cost. Oh, a cheaper dentist. That's cute. Right. Oh, you're not going there. Okay. So, if I've been with my accountant for years, I absolutely adore her. If let's say that some other accountant gets the information to me that he is now 20% cheaper than my accountant, that's too bad. for him, that he's so eager to get new work that he has to do that. Probably there's a reason that he's doing that. I'm not doing that. Um, I'm perfectly happy where I am. Thank you very much. So this is where you talk about the other cost, the risk cost, the convenience cost, the ego cost, right? Um, I've seen so many cases where, of course, you can tell them, yeah, then go with them. That's obvious, but I don't think that's necessary. You can say, yeah, I've known clients who have done that first. The problem with like a cheap accountant is that they're more expensive than the expensive accountant because you have to pay the cheap accountant, the fines, and the expensive accountant, right? Okay. Um, right. What do you suggest, says Petra? What do you suggest for conflicts in my head? You have 19 years of experience, kudos, and entrepreneur or five months. So welcome. We have t-shirts. One voice is telling me to charge more, and the other to telling your agency is new on the market. Don't go up with prices because you're going to fail fast. Okay. Awesome question. Thank you so very much. Right. Like I said, they have no idea, firstly, how long you are on the market, unless you tell them. With 20 years of experience, okay, sorry, 19. um, so I'm sure you know what you're doing. So it's not like you just finished college or something and you need experience to grow. You have experience. So it doesn't matter if you were if your labor was bought by bosses until yesterday and today it's bought by clients. It's the same thing. So you don't put yourself down. And the client, if they don't think they're in trouble, they don't want anybody, much less you. If they do think in trouble, they can tell how good you are. They can see how good your website looks, how good your LinkedIn looks, and they can see your price. And like I said, nobody needs a friendly priced expert, right? Remember that. So you want to sell them on trust, and it's very hard to be undercut by trust, like Klaus Rastatt says. Um, discount trust is not trust, and you wouldn't trust it yourself. So absolutely go and do the experiment. So start with any price that you're comfortable of saying without giggling. Okay. It's not a man or woman thing. Sometimes I giggle too when I said something too high. Okay. Um, oh God, I recorded this. Anyway, so as high as you can go, you write it down, you see how people react. As long as you choose people who are relevant, who could be clients, you're good. This will keep you safe. Okay? Okay, so Masha says, I'm an interior designer starting to work on my own. Again, congratulations. Most of the time, clients are friends or friends of friends or family friends. It's often hard to set pricing because of the personal connection. Yeah, people expect a better price because of the personal connection. So what do I suggest? Okay. Oh, another classic. So what I suggest might terrify you, but I promise it will help. Firstly, that logic of the family expects or the friends expect a lower price is kind of lopsided because why? Right? Why wouldn't you expect them to pay more to support you? It's the same logic. So this is how I do it, and this is what I tell my clients. I don't do discounts. I do full price or nothing at all. Because otherwise, discounts are a never-ending story. They're a quicksand. That just sinks lower and lower the more you wriggle. Because if you give them a small discount, like 5 or 10%, then you're not really honoring the family angle here. Like you would, it feels like you would do that for anybody. And if you give them a big discount, then they don't think that you're worth anything because you obviously immediately jumped from your price. You obviously don't believe it. So I'm going to, doubt you. I'm going to not really listen to you. And then I don't have the results. And this is the only type of clients. So people with big discounts. And yes, I did this mistake many times. I'm from a background like that as well. So what happens is, okay, it's a friend of a friend, and then they tell a friend of a friend of a friend how much they paid you, and then these people come here. And they expect an extra discount because you haven't given me this. So the discount on the discount becomes the starting. No, absolutely not. At some point, it got so bad. So I had two prices, one for Croatia and one for the world. And after a while, I realized that I'm working the same thing. I'm getting the same results. Well, it's actually harder. It was harder to work with Croatians because, as they say, nobody is a prophet in their own village. And people just didn't listen to me that much. So they didn't have the results. So I just said, no, everybody pays the same price. I don't care. Yes, I know how much less people make here. I don't care. I didn't sell anything in Croatia for a year and a half. That doesn't matter. I sold more than enough overseas to thrive. And then after a year and a half, things started to change. And now I'm have maybe 20% Croatian clients normally. And they pay me so much that they listen to me and they have the results. And everybody's happier for it. So so have I done a couple of things for friends that really needed it for free? Yes, and I'm sorry for some of them because when you do something for free and they need to collaborate, then they don't have the time. So I can help people from across the world, but not some of my friends. I love them dearly. I would always drink beer with them. I can't help them because they just don't have the time for me. People who paid me a lot always have time for me, and I can help them. Right? Excellent. Um, I yeah. Please skip the years of frustration that I had with this. Please do. I'm always um, I'm always kind of driving on my own mistakes first, and I'm almost proud of them because that they make me capable of talking about this. Thank you very much. We're 15 minutes over time. I'm going to let you go. So if anybody would like a recording of this, yeah. Vedran says, I don't expect friends to give me discount, only not to screw me over. Yeah, that is perfect. And I would gladly do that to my friends. And I did for some of them. And yeah, it doesn't always work out that way. So thank you. Um, so there's been 30 people here. 15 of you waited for a quarter of an hour more to hear all of these. I'm always delighted to answer questions. I also have a free newsletter that I've been sending twice a week for years now, and I have like 50% open rate if you're interested in that. I'll send you a thank you note on there. Anyway, you can subscribe if you like. And in general, if you have questions that you are comfortable asking me, do that on LinkedIn. If you don't, if you're not comfortable asking them of me directly, because for any reason, there's an AI on my webpage called Astra. You don't have to register or leave your email address or anything. You just have to go to fearless-pricing.com, so fearless-pricing.com, and it will say, hi, I'm an AI chatbot. She has been trained on like 500 of my articles, and she can answer all of your questions about pricing and negotiation and value communication about as 40% as good as I can, but completely free and anonymously. So try that out, and if you feel ready to book on a discovery call, you know where to find me. Thank you very much. Hans, website, please. Okay, just a second. So let me click here. It's going to be quicker. So fearless-pricing.com. There you go. Also works with the three W's. Right. Have a great day. Have a great night, depending on where you are. Bye.